I continue my discussion with trauma expert Dr. Sarah Williams. We discuss more about setting boundaries, reestablishing your professional journey, and creating your life of personal fulfillment.
One thing that I hear from a lot of people on social media is that, we continue to ask that question, why? And you'll never get the answer to it. And even if you did, does it really make a difference? Will it
No.
make a difference?
If you were to look at life from the lens of the person that harmed you and look into them and see them, say they were 8 years old or 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We had them in our classes. We had them at our church and in our community. They normally were bullies,
Mm-hmm.
and it went unchecked.
Yeah.
And for some reason, their needs were not met when they were 3 or 4 or 5. And that type of behavior worked for them. It provided whatever that need was.
Mm-hmm.
So someone like you comes along who's kind and loving and forgiving and
Generous and
joy and generous. Exactly. You are going to be a target. So how do we cope with psychological abuse in the workplace? It starts with having that internal psychological resilience that stops it at day one. Because if once you really think about the pattern, it didn't just like start bad, like all one day, all of a sudden. There were
True.
little microaggressions, there were little bitty things along the way that you kind of dismissed, or you didn't want to say anything because you didn't want to disrupt the pattern. And I'm speaking to all the women that could be listening right now. There were things like, oh, can you work my shift for me, or they make little little comments and little half jokes that, oh, I was just joking. And that if you are strong enough to stop it right then, it will likely, unfortunately, that the bully moves on to some other target. They have to have a target, and it has to be ongoing. If you leave, then the attention is focused on someone else. Sometimes it's within the own little unit. Sometimes after the victim leaves, then the individuals turn on themselves. And that happens in family systems, that happens in business and work, it happens in marriage couples, it happens in any dynamic where there's an individual that has to have a power and control over another individual in order to feel complete.
What is it that we can do then? Because this is an epidemic. There are so many people, I believe now, who are beginning to really speak out about it. I had never really heard of workplace abuse until my therapist said, "You're experiencing classic workplace abuse." And when she said the word abuse, it was like a light bulb went off and it began to make sense. Now, from that moment of understanding that it was workplace abuse, having a name put to it, it took me another year and a half before I was able to finally walk away and just say, I'm out of here. But it's clear that this is abuse, just as harmful as sexual abuse, physical assault. What can we do so that people are protected in the workplace?
The fact that you are here is one of the main things of why I have individuals tell their story, bring awareness about psychological safe spaces. And I personally am working with educating at the level of even entertainment and media. I work with entertainment and media producers that will be on set to now work with what we are exposed to, because we're desensitized to violence. We're desensitized to this dynamic of maltreatment, of someone being the scapegoat or someone being the victim. We see an ongoing running tape of abuse and neglect and trauma to the point that we're getting desensitized. It's like,
It's kind of like, it's
yeah,
normal. Like we've
also,
more normalized it.
yeah, someone's telling a story about being molested, and then you scroll again and someone's selling you a sundress. I mean, it's literally our brain doesn't know what to do with all this information. So working with the entertainment and media professionals and producers that have sought out my services to actually be on set
Wow.
and to offer support, even making psychological safe spaces a part of the entertainment industry.
I love
So
that.
we cannot speak this enough. And individuals have to be willing to co sign the message. We cannot allow HR and other trained individuals that are designed or to be there to be our protection to
Hmm.
work for the company, even though they work for the company for our benefits. There still needs to be some level of awareness, because oftentimes, if someone is in the workplace and they are displaying this type of psychological abusive behavior, it's not the first time. They've been
Right.
transferred to multiple different jobs or sites or companies or what have you. And a lot of people will say the same thing. So if the intervention really is focused more on the person that's the perpetrator, also, if we can see more support for the employee assistance programs. I
Mm.
am a provider for employee assistance programs, and if someone is a victim of workplace bullying, they definitely need to take advantage of those services.
Yes.
Generally, they receive somewhere between 3 and 5 free therapy sessions or sessions with a licensed therapist to sit down and really uncover the experience and be able to just process what is
Mm.
happening, because it's a
Mhm.
trauma. But what's most important is for the individual to find out what was transpiring within myself,
Mm.
even from a child or a young adult, that would have created the opportunity
Mm.
for me to be accepting of this behavior.
Now that sounds, as you say that, it sounds as if, um, I guess for lack of a better word, maybe blaming the victim. Isn't that's not what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. And thank
Oh,
you. I
good.
will continue. We don't want to enable the
Yes.
perpetrator.
Hmm.
So we lessen their toolkit by looking within ourselves to find our own strengths and
Mm.
resources. So it's almost like a tennis match.
Yeah.
When they say this, I got this. When they do this, I do that. And it's like sooner or later, this person will get bored or worn out.
Because
They,
I'm moving you all around the court.
yeah, they just don't have that many tools. If they were a
Yeah.
intelligent, bright, self-aware, balanced person, they wouldn't need to rely on those types of tactics. And
Yes.
the tactics are never really new or creative. It's the same thing
Same
over and
thing.
over. Let's try to
Hmm.
sabotage their work. Let's try to turn other coworkers against them. Let's try to make them cry at work or feel inadequate. It's the same set of things.
It's a playbook. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah,
what
it
you
really is.
you figure out, okay, like this is, I'm no longer in sixth grade in the lunchroom and the bully is not going to
Hmm.
get me after school. I mean, I'm a grown woman. I have a master's
Hmm.
degree. I work at this position, and
Hmm.
this is how I'm going to make sure that I set myself up. I'm not going to
Yes.
retaliate. Retaliate feels like a natural thing to do.
Yep.
But if you keep precise records in that journaling, is
Hmm.
imperative. When I have someone that's a victim of this type of treatment, keep a daily journal and
Yes.
process what you are experiencing, how it
Hmm.
is affecting you. Give you an example. I feel so bad. I can't think of the person's name, but it was a beautiful Black woman that was a professor at Lincoln University.
Oh, Dr. Candia Bailey.
Yes,
Yeah, that broke my heart.
it is heartbreaking. But what is helpful to us is that she was able to keep a chronological journal,
Yeah.
emotional
Yeah.
journal of
Hmm.
what she was experiencing. It was more than accused of stealing the paper from the copy machine. I'm just creating.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
But it was, I feel like my work is being sabotaged on a daily basis that unearths my feelings of inadequacy, and it makes me
Hmm.
difficult to be a productive instructor today because I'm feeling so depressed. I let the faculty know about my depression, and now they are humiliating me and making fun of me because I sought treatment for my mental health diagnoses. It would take an animal not to feel compassion for this woman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But then when you think about that situation too, the fact that, she took her life because she felt she was getting no help. No one was listening to her. And I know so many people who have been right there on top of that mountain looking down and ready to take the jump. She wasn't believed. And even with all of that evidence, if you will, that was seen in her journal, her family came forward and said, yeah, she had been dealing with this for a long time and the university did nothing about it. And they came back after a so-called investigation after she had passed away, saying nothing to see here. There is, again, that's part of the playbook where those bullies somehow they know that there's really nothing that can be done legally because the discrimination laws don't really protect us. I mean, especially for people of color, you have to prove that they intended to offend you or discriminate you based on your race. But if they haven't called you the N-word or left a noose on your desk, which are the only two ways we can apparently, prove intent, from 1964. There's nothing we can do. And yet we know that many of us know that it is based on being a woman or some other disability or sometimes being, a person of color. And yet we have all the evidence. I mean, I've got evidence. I have many, many receipts. And yet I could not technically prove it in a court of law.
And the only way I would assume, I'm not in the legal field, but I would assume that how justice prevails is when you do the exit interview and they give you the opportunity for your feedback, that's when you pull out that journal
Mm.
and you make sure it's a hard copy in your file of those notes, of those dates, of those times, of those occurrences. Because this person doesn't just do it with one person. Sooner or later, they will do this behavior repeatedly. And once the organization sees a pattern, then a potentially legal action can be taken. But that's from a non-legal perspective, but I'm general. And just for the benefit of the employee that is being mistreated, if they go to a new job and that job has to call, like what this particular professor was saying, when she felt trapped because he would not give her a good recommendation.
Right.
So then you have to basically pull out your facts, have your little portfolio of all your rewards, all your accomplishments, all your reviews, and letters of support from other coworkers, and a journal of all your therapy appointments that you went to, and say, I'm not sure where my former supervisor got their information because over here,
That's wrong.
I got employee of the week. I got this. I got a raise. So this doesn't sound like, it sounds like it could be personal. And when someone is giving you a poor recommendation and you have left and you have all this other evidence, then that does put them in a legal situation, because now it sounds like retaliation.
It absolutely does sound like, and it is retaliation in the sense that, too, there are a lot of women, especially Black women, who I've met over the last year, who are still out of a job. They've been out of a job because the industry that they were in, there were people, those managers and bosses, and who know other people within the industry who have given them not even just a bad recommendation, but they've been bad mouthing them. And so there are people who cannot find a job because they've been maybe outspoken on LinkedIn or on social media talking about their experience, and they're out of a job. So there's this notion that if I speak up, I'm going to be retaliated against either internally or externally once I leave my former place of employment. And I have to live. How do we help people in those situations because they can't get a job because their past continues to follow them?
In every job that we have, there are multiple things we do in that job. There are talents that we have that we don't realize we have. And if you are a spiritual person, then let's dive really deep into, okay, let's say you chose a position, let's say to be in accounting. You got a degree in accounting, but being an accountant, does it really give you that purpose and fulfillment that you really want? It gives you security,
Mhm.
but
Right.
on your weekends and at night and every chance you get, you're in the kitchen creating and coming up with all different types of really interesting recipes and things, and you smile and you laugh and you are a different person in that setting. Maybe
Yeah.
that is the spirit telling you
Mm.
that that is where you should go. And I'm not
Mhm.
telling every single person quit your job, leave your job, etc. But when I counsel and coach professional women that are in very difficult employment situations, your health and your wellness and your mental health is way more important. I really had a
Mhm.
come to Jesus meeting when I thought I had an upper respiratory infection, went to go get an antibiotic and was informed that you cannot leave here. We are sending you over to the cardiac unit because your blood pressure has elevated to the point that you could be having a stroke.
Oh my goodness.
It
Mm.
was from the stress.
Yeah, stress.
And I took the time
Absolutely.
off and I didn't go back.
Mhm.
But before we get to that point, before when we start experiencing, because normally internally we start feeling like something's not right around
Something's
here.
not right.
Something
Yeah, your gut's telling you.
I'm not feeling good. So before we
Mhm.
get where it gets to the extreme, let's start having those conversations like, okay, if I left this job, where would I go?
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
what can I do with the talent I have and create my own employment? Like, do I need to open a business? Do I need to develop a
Mhm.
coaching job,
Mhm.
business? Do I need to, like me? I completely recreated myself. I look at
I love
pictures
it.
from myself back then and now, and it's not even about losing weight and all that. It's literally about I am a different person.
Yeah. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
travel. I have peace. I mean, I my brand is the life ambience blueprint. We can create
Mm.
an ambience for ourselves. We can
Yes.
change our
Yes.
DNA. We can change our blueprint
Yes.
because my
Yes.
blueprint was to be a victim, to be a trauma survivor, to be stressed, and to die
Mhm.
young. That was probably
Mm-mm.
the blueprint. But
Mhm.
you can recreate that. You can look
Yeah.
at that job and you can formulate ways to use their training and everything that's available to your advantage.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when it's comfortable for you, then you decide, okay, I'm going to go next step. It could be a lateral move or it could be something totally different. Sometimes it's a good idea to do something totally different for a while just
Yeah.
to figure out what was happening. And while you're in that odd place, like maybe you want to do like substitute teaching to keep the check coming in, and you do your therapy and you do your coaching, and then you decide, no, I really miss being an accountant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go work for
Okay.
a different business, or hey, these are the steps to opening up your own accounting firm.
I
it's
love it.
it's Yeah, we should never feel
Mm.
stuck.
It's so interesting that you said that because I remember distinctly talking to my therapist and I said, "They took my job from me. They took my job." For literally for an hour, that was all I could talk about was that this is my dream job and I worked so hard for it and this is what I know God called me to do and I was good at it. I was the number one anchor in the city, all of that. And I was just bemoaning. And I will never forget when she said to me, literally what you just said. She said, you lost a job, but they didn't take your career. Like you can do what you do in another form, in another venue, another way for yourself. And that was another light bulb moment for me. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. My gifts, I still have the gifts. God gave me these gifts. God gave it to me and they used it for a little while. It was on loan. They rented me for a little while. And now guess what? I'm going out someplace else. And that was a real aha moment. But it takes a lot of people time to get there because they're so used to working for someone and not necessarily working for themselves. And so there's a disconnect sometimes that people have because we're so used to working, getting up, working that 9 to 5 job, working for someone else, knowing where our paycheck is going to come. And now everything is on you. And that could be really, really scary for a lot of people. What else can you impart to help encourage people to take a step back and say, you know what, I've got everything that I have. God has given me the tools, and I've got all the tools in my tool belt, in my toolbox to go out and do and continue to do what I love.
Right. When we are in a situation where we fear loss of our security, that is a fear based concern
Mm,
that is rooted in fear. We are logical human beings when it comes to our finances. We can look at, okay, this is my financial plan, and this is what my plan is to change and recreate myself. Because no matter what, there's going to be anxiety. Anytime you make a transition, it's going to be some kind of change. And at any moment, we don't have the security we think we have, because they could come at any moment and say, hey, we're going to downsize and we no longer need you. And next week, your paycheck, and then that's it. So it's always
right.
good to have your own toolbox of what am I going to do next?
Hmm.
But really finding that passion, figuring out what you would do for free. Like, if I could envision something that I would do and I didn't have to get paid for it, what would it be?
What would it be? Yeah.
Do I have a green thumb? Can I cook really well? Am I good at empowering other women? Am I a dress designer? Can I create? Can I do interior design? Can I work on cars? I mean, whatever it is,
Whatever. Yeah.
yes,
Hmm.
that should always be the goal,
Hmm.
because your therapist had it spot on. You brought the
Yeah.
talent, you brought the energy, you brought the wow to it,
I brought the noise. Yes.
you brought the noise. So the only thing you're doing is changing your seed.
Changing the seed.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Nothing else. Changing the seed. It's like a new season.
It
I mean,
is.
it's
It
it's
is.
right. It's just changing your season.
I love the word that you used about blueprint. And I remember talking to my husband. We were like, okay, are we going to stay here? What does, my future look like here in the city? Because there's so many great memories, but of course, what happened, still very, very difficult. And my son was invited to attend school in Florida. And we're like, right near the same time that all of this was happening. And we're like, well, let's go. And let me tell you, Dr. Sarah, it was the best thing ever for our entire family. One, I love Florida. I love the beach. I live on the beach all the time. Like I love beaches.
So
And
envious.
so we would go to we would go on vacation, and the night before we're flying back to Indiana, I'm like upset and mad because I'm like, my vacation's over. And this opportunity gave me the chance to really heal physically and emotionally. And so when you use that word blueprint, that's exactly what I want people to understand, is that, God has the master plan for our lives. And so many times we're reliant upon other people, whether it's the job, even friends, even family members, to help kind of buffer and give us what we think we really need and want in life. And when things happen that are beyond our control, I have looked at that as God's way of saying, there's more that I have for you. And this is the time, as you mentioned, another season. This is another season. And forget about how old you are. If you want to move, move. If you want to live in a different environment that you feel is better for you, go. What's holding you back? And so, what do you think about that? Is that, we only have one life. We don't know the day nor the time when it's going to be over. And if we're waiting for everything to be perfect and right, we're going to miss out what I believe are God's promises for our life. And that is to restore us and to replenish us and to renew us. And the promise of hope and faith and knowing that He got us.
Mhm.
He's got us. He knows exactly where we're supposed to go if we just walk out on faith. And this is, I'm speaking from a faith perspective, but literally walk out on faith and say, God, I know I don't have the answer. I don't know how you're going to pay that bill, but I trust you. I trust that you're going to provide. And I can tell you that in the last 4 years, right when we're right up against a wall, God provides. He comes through every single time.
Every
But I
time.
just want people to know that can you can chart your own life, your own path in life, and create a different blueprint. It's a new season, and enjoy that journey.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. The journey never intended for us to stay stuck and stay in one place.
No.
And
Mm-mm.
I actually feel a level of sadness when I think
Mm.
of individuals that remained and they still seem so unhappy, and
Yeah.
that fear of change, of
Mm-hmm.
and just not being able to move forward. And I did the exact same thing. I totally changed my life. I relocated to another state. I wanted to I relocated to the place that I would always run away to, because I always felt the need for my kids and I to get in the car and get away, like escape. Like,
Mm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go here every holiday and every weekend because we felt happiness. And then
Mm.
I realized you need to make that happiness your home. Like
Your
that
home.
place that
Yes.
you feel most happy
Mm-hmm.
and you feel delight and people smile at you when you walk down the
Mm.
street, and you're not worried about people carrying some type of rumor with them that if they see you, they've got to make sure that no one sees them talking to you, and all
Mm-hmm.
the types of experiences that I had to survive. And now I look at my life and I can't believe how God has provided. And then the
Mm.
wisdom came into me and it said, God is waiting on you to make a decision and make a step. Because I kept waiting on God to tell me what to do, tell me what
What
to
to
do.
do? Yeah.
Make a decision, and
Mm-hmm.
and then create your faith in a way that you've made a decision and you take that first step and God carries you the rest of the way. Because there are
Mm-hmm.
blessings that have come in my life that on a natural realm, there's no explanation for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no explanation. On the spiritual realm, we get it. But in the natural sense,
Mm-hmm.
how does she have all this? How was she able to pull this off? We unloaded a house. My kids and I moved most of the house by ourselves, and we did it. And we lived. We didn't have an address when we came to our new state. We literally
Mm.
went to a hotel. Like, let's figure it out.
We'll
And
figure it out. Yeah.
yeah, and then I ran across this wonderful lady that had an extended stay like place, and she was like, "Just come here," and it was beautiful, and it was on the beach. We
Mm.
had a great time, and then I ran across an amazing realtor, and then after going through a few other realtors, that's another story. But she was amazing, and then
Mm.
I wake up and we're here. We
Mm.
we pulled it off. We did it.
Mhm.
And it just keeps changing. And now I look at these two amazing young adults that are now 19, that they go to amazing college and they have amazing help. And God just shows up
Yes, he
every single
does.
day. Every single day, God
Every day.
shows up.
Yes,
And
he
He was
does.
always there, even in the
He was
dark.
always
He was there, but He
there.
needed me to get strong enough to
Mm-hmm.
trust Him. Like, be strong, make a decision, and I got you. We can't keep
Amen.
doubting ourselves and staying stuck. I was
Amen.
trying to remember, I kind of come up with these little sayings and I'm gonna be quick, but then it occurred to me that I just wanted to share that this quickly before we leave today. And it has to do with quieting the outside noise so you can tune up the inner voice.
Mm. Oh, that's rich. Oh, that's rich. Mm.
Yeah.
Get rid of the outside noise so you can hear what I believe is your inner voice and God's voice.
Yes.
And God's voice. Absolutely. I say on this platform a lot, if nobody believes your story, I do. Because I know that people didn't believe my story because it sounds so far-fetched. And, like you mentioned earlier, people are seeing what's on the outside and they think you have it going on and all is well. And when you finally begin to speak truth to power, to free yourself of the truth, to free your heart that has been heavy because you've been holding it in for so long, it's that I know so many other people are out there who are suffering in silence, and I want them to know that it's okay, that you're not alone, that you can speak up, that you can share your story because someone needs to hear your story. Someone needs to hear your story. And like you, I feel like I am obligated. I believe that I'm obligated. This is part of God's plan for my life. I didn't ask for it, but I know that he called me because I know that he knew that I would speak up to help other people. What would you say is the number one thing that you do for yourself as you are going through life, as you're helping other people, especially going through workplace abuse and really any other trauma, because it's all trauma, how they can learn to thrive? Because I want people to thrive. We were born, I know that God wants all of us to thrive in life. There's enough riches and glory and wins for all of us to have. How do you define thriving?
For many of us that have been in a situation of trauma, whether it be workplace, childhood trauma, grief, prolonged stress, complicated grief, you name it. All of our energy went towards surviving. Let me make sure I don't commit suicide. Let me make sure this doesn't kill me. But you get to a place where you understand that you are not put here to survive. God created everything we need to survive: food, water, shelter. That's what you need to survive. We need to experience life. We need to have a life of abundance. We need to know what joy means. Don't feel guilty for embracing joy, finding peace, no matter what it is. There's silly things like, for instance, I will still go to every amusement park I can find on a regular basis. I've got season
Mhm.
passes everywhere.
I love it.
Yes,
I
because
love it.
that child in me still needs to be nurtured. I still
Mhm.
need to be able to run around the amusement park and not worry about what's going to happen to me tonight. What horrible thing is going to be said to me, or what's going to be done to me the next week, or whatever, or not being able to go, just being denied access to anything that would make me laugh. So that part of me, I still have to nurture her.
Mhm.
Even though we are 40 years old, 30 years old, and we're professionals and we've got these great jobs, that kid still needs to be nurtured. You still need to laugh. You still need to have fun. You still need to have joy. You need to take vacations, even if you can't afford it. Go find the money, get a payment plan, have a second
Mhm.
job that pay for the fun stuff. Do what brings you joy. Do not surround yourself with people that are going to drain you and rob you. That is not why God has you here. You can't complete your assignment if you are depressed and anxious and suicidal. You
Yeah.
won't even be able to reach that level of visionary in your mind and be able to envision, what am I here for, if you're thinking about survival, because it's taken up everything. Every morning, breathe, breath. First of all, peace. What do I need to do? Is it a cup of coffee? Is it a walk? Is it a journaling? Is it meditation? Is it going to the spa? What is it? First. Everything else second.
I love it. I love you. Amazing. So
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I
Thank
I
you.
cannot I don't like you. Nothing happens by happenstance. Everything happens for a reason. And I know that you are going to heal some people. I know you're going to heal some people. You healed some parts of me that still need to be worked on. So I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode and the YouTube show with others. I'll see you next week.